Warning, this show contains lots of vulgarity, questionable content, and the Angry Jackalope might just be a crazy motherfucker. You've been warned.
That's good. What's up, YouTube? Angry Jackalope here, Rob Ricks. I gotta tell you guys, I just kind of had a revelation, not even 24 hours ago. Some of you guys might know that, you know, I don't necessarily trust our government. I don't trust a lot of the things that the mainstream media pushes out to us. And there have been a lot of mysteries that I've been just perplexed, scratching my fucking head trying to figure shit out. And I think I might have figured out the game plan of the Illuminati. Illuminati. Dun, 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 dun. So let's first assess the situation. I think all of these false flag events are not designed to take our guns. I don't. I'll tell you why. From Sandy Hook to the recent Pulse shootings, they have gone out of their way to repeatedly villainize the AR-15. The spooky assault rifle. And you got people like Alex Jones and these other ones. They're coming after your guns. And that's always bothered me. Because logistically I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. I mean, granted, you got a bunch of motherfuckers show up on your front door with their own AR-15s and badges and shit like that. You know, most people's penises would fucking nook so far up inside of their stomach that they'd have an inverted erection, right? Because they'd be scared shitless. But logistically speaking, it's one thing to disarm, like, go door to door in Louisiana during, how you doing? During the Katrina. And it's also another thing to go door to door after the Boston bombing. It is entirely different to disarm the whole entire country of the United States of America. It's fucking possible. I think, what was the number they said? There's 300 million guns at last estimate. And I don't even know where that's from. I suspect that number is actually low. I would wager there's probably closer to 600 million guns in America. Because if you speculate on illegal guns and things of that nature, as well as gun spikes after each one of these travesties, these events, I would speculate there's probably much, much more. Now, you might be like, well, fuck, Rob. So is it the gun cartels, the NRA, those guys, are they trying to do shit to bolster gun sales? I don't think it's them. I think it's our government. Or the actual Illuminati. I think it's them. And here's why I think that is. So, the Illuminati, the powers that be, if you look at things like Agenda 21 and some of these other things that talk about lower populations, you might be saying, well, how the fuck is that even possible? I mean, barring some kind of a mass catastrophe, how are you gonna cut the population, the world population? How are you gonna cut that? Well, I've got an answer for that, and I'll get to it in a second. Now let's look back at some of the things that were perplexing and scary in the first place. You know, we had this DHS mass acquisition of hollow point bullets. We're talking billions of rounds of hollow point ammunition. Factor in also last year's huge fucking order for rations, all of which went to FEMA Region 3. Then you look at a lot of these armored vehicles transporting across the country. All of those things in of themselves are kind of benign and kind of like, yeah, that's weird, you know, but whatever. And you look at also the internment camps and things of that nature. Here's what I think is the skinny. A long time ago, National Geographic put out a mockumentary type thing where it said what would happen if there was a mass power outage in the show. It was caused by hackers that attacked the power grid, and power was out for at least I think a month or something like that. And so I thought that was interesting that they would put a show out like that and call it, you know, hackers that did it. Now there was a thing not too long ago, well, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. There was a guy I read inside of Wired magazine. He was doing ping tests and he was checking out vulnerabilities on critical infrastructure, things like that. And what he found was a lot of our most critical infrastructure, whether it be water systems, electrical grids, etc., were not protected from cyber threats. So in the realm of possibilities, you know, that was another thing that was painting the picture that there could be some kind of a cyber event. Okay, but in the realm of possibilities, they were painting the picture that's possible. And indeed, I agree, and I think that is in the realm of possibilities, because some of the scans that I have done also show there's a lot of vulnerability inside of critical infrastructure. So that's kind of interesting in of itself. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. The other thing that you're seeing a lot more chatter and conversation about is EMPs caused by solar flares from our sun. So if you look back to the Carrington event in the mid-1800s, that was a very interesting event. Sun belched out some really nasty solar flares, hit our Earth, caused all kinds of interesting things like telegraph machines that weren't even plugged in, operating on their own, sparking and doing all kinds of crazy things. And there was auroras as far south as San Francisco, people walking outside at midnight reading newspapers because it was so bright out. If that event were to happen today, it would probably knock us back into the Stone Age. So it would knock us back to the Stone Age, not my words, that's the word of some of the FEMA folks. There was a FEMA hearing not too long ago, probably about three years ago now, where this guy's getting raked over the coals asking why are there still FEMA trailers in Louisiana and why are they not being handled. And the guy was like being honest, saying, you know what, that's not really high on my priority. And the lady was like, well, what the fuck is high on your priority? He goes, well, the eventuality of something like a solar flare happening. And so he broke it down for her. She got really fucking freaked out. And the question was, well, what would it cost to retrofit and protect our electrical system? And it's like a few $1 billion, but nobody wants to spend any money on it. So that was something that also kind of perplexed me. Everybody knew there was a threat looming out there, but nobody wanted to take any initiative to fix it. And I thought that was interesting until last night. Well, last night I sat and thought about it and said, you know what, if it were me and I had control over the power grid, believe us, the government does have power over the power grid. They can shut it off or shut it on relatively easy. They could overload the system, causing it to cascade and pop off, which we've seen in the past when one system gets a little overloaded and causes problems. And this has been something I've been noticing lately on my day job. We've been seeing a huge amount of power outages nationwide at some of our client locations, just because the power companies can't seem to be handling the heat, a lot of use of air conditioning, something, whatever's causing it. Anyway, so here's the game plan. Me, I'm the government. I want to have mass casualties. I want people to die, and I want to have control at the end of everything. But I also want to make sure that I am protected against any backlash from shutting the grid down. So I turn off the power. Day 1, day 2, people kind of freak out, you know, when they're like, oh, you know, power outage, no big deal. Well, like the first week is going to be kind of a mixed bag. You're going to have some people that are just completely caught, flat-footed, don't have any kind of things, and there's going to be problems. So you're going to see people inside of like hospitals, the most critical. Those folks are going to die probably first because hospitals and stuff have certain backups to a point, but after that, it's, you know, too bad, game over. So I think what they'll do is they'll cut the power. They'll let it go for 6 months to a year. The folks that have weapons with no resources, they're gonna go fucking. I mean, you're gonna see really quick the sick, the folks that need the medical attention, they're gonna die first. You're gonna see a lot of the inner cities just implode. So you'll see just a ton of areas that are already kind of loaded with crime in the first place to shoot through the roof as motherfuckers are like, you know, I'll just take what I want. And then, you know, as it goes and goes, you'll see these groups of people that will band together and kind of, you know, work as a cohesive unit. Now, they will pose a threat to the plan of the control because if they've got a nice tight-knit unit and everybody's working together, that's kind of counterproductive to what the overall agenda is. But here's the thing. So they'll create these nice tight-knit units, and the powers that be will probably have scouts keeping an eye. They'll probably have some spies on the inside to let people, to provide information about strategic locations where people are held up. And they'll probably be monitoring things like ham as well as other forms of communication. Once they've identified possible threats in different regions, like there's your typical areas, Texas, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, you know, places that really have been preaching self-reliance for some time. What they'll probably do is they'll do a blackout. They'll try to black out as much information as possible. And after about 6-7 months after it's ran its course and you've got the dead piling up, because nobody's going to clean up dead bodies. Nobody's going to clean up trash. You might have areas where people have said, fuck it, and they leave their homes and they go to other spots. Think of pandemics, right? All of the horrible scenes you've seen. Without people working, without people doing trash and flushing toilets and things of that nature, shit happens. It's gonna get nasty. It's gonna get nasty quick. People are gonna really appreciate things like garbage men. Well, after the death and the carnage and the disease, because there'll be rampant disease, you'll see starvation. So you're gonna see basically pestilence. You'll see death. You'll see all this other stuff that is just gonna be, for the people experiencing it, it's going to seem apocalyptic. Well, now people inside of FEMA Region 3, the elite, the folks that are underground in bunkers, they're just riding it out. You know, they're riding it out just like anybody would with inside of any storm. Now, after that region is protected, FEMA Region 3, as well as probably the underground areas in Colorado and some of these other locations that are bunkervilles, they will go and they'll use things like drones for surveillance, use drones to do knock out certain areas that they find that have information flowing. And then after that, they'll come and they'll be waving a flag and they'll try to, you know, save people and say, sorry it took us so long, but there's only so many of us and blah, blah, blah. And we'll probably see some UN troops. You know, we'll find out that America basically collapsed. It's a third world country. The World Bank has stepped in, offered help, unified North America. So you have Canada, America, and Mexico, because they will probably experience something very similar. And then it'll be all united together. But the population at that point will probably be about 30% where we are today. So, you know, if we got 320 million people, you know, and what is that? That would be about less than 100 million left. So you'd have less than 100 million people left, and that is a much easier number to control, especially after they just survived 6 to 12 months of utter hell. So that's the game plan that I would run, because from a strategic point of view, I probably won't lose any real numbers of people other than the ones that are protecting critical infrastructure for myself. But I would just fucking bunker that shit up, lock it down as hard as possible, put a bunch of honeypots in the way, let people think they are getting caches of stuff, make sure I leave weapon caches, things of that nature, and bugged communication devices, so that they would find it, they would use it, and then I'd be able to keep track on how they're growing their groups, and then that would be how I'd figure out my kill hits, my kill list. I would come make them an offer. It's kind of like I said yesterday on the podcast that I was interviewed on. It's kind of like the Matrix, right? I would sit there and offer, somebody a chance to plug back into Matrix and have steak again, as opposed to being starving and watching family die. And you'd be amazed when people are desperate, the shit that they will do. So that's, I think, is the game plan. And the other thing that will go hand in hand with that, after a huge thing of that nature, economic collapse would be just inevitable. You would basically do a reset. The World Bank would step in. The actual physical ownership of America would transfer. You would see a lot of things saying, okay, fine, we'll come in and help out, but we want this, this, and this. If you look at what the World Bank does historically with things like water rights and things of that nature, it's a bad deal. So this could be a big what if. This could be the actual game plan. In any event, my recommendation is start figuring out your groups. Start figuring out what you would do if the power went out. Who would you contact? How would you contact them? What are some of the things that you would do to kind of secure your location? And then how would you protect yourself against thugs that would come and try to steal your shit? Start figuring out plans on creating your own honeypots, your own cache of shit you don't mind losing. Hide shit. Figure out cubby holes and stuff inside your house. Figure out how to hide shit in plain sight, so that in the event somebody does come through your stuff and you get caught slipping, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? So in any event, anything that happens, there's always going to be a positive. There's always going to be something that can be regained from it. Do I think that if this plan is executed, that it will be survivable? I think if you're extremely lucky, and you plan accordingly, and you keep your wits about you, and you build yourself a good team, yeah, I think you can. Do I think lone wolves? Do I think guys just protecting their immediate family are going to be able to hold out on their own? I don't. There's just too much. I had a friend, he fucked me so hard. I was sitting there talking about, okay, how I'm, protecting my house, zones, things of that nature. And he said, okay, so your front door's good. I go, front door's good, it's barricaded. He goes, back door's blah, blah, blah. Went through all the different things. He goes, so I can't get in. I go, no, you can't get in. He goes, I'll get you out. I'm like, no, you can't. He goes, I set your house on fire. And I was like this. Fuck. So you on your own is no bueno. You can't hold out against a superior force. So you need to make sure you have allies. You need to be able to make friends in your neighborhoods. You need to start, stop being an isolated island and start communicating with your neighborhood, with your neighbors, with people around you. We need to stop being so alone, because that is going to kill us. That in of itself is going to be the noose that goes around our necks and hangs us. So you need to go outside your comfort zone. You need to start talking to people that you normally wouldn't talk to. You need to start figuring out people that have different skill sets that complement yours, or maybe augment yours, or even replace skills you don't have. Being able to balance your checkbook and do accounting and things of that nature is going to be completely useless in a grid down situation. So start figuring out shit like, okay, how can I do water procurement? How can I do fires? How can I build shelter? How can I basically live off the wild? Because without our power and without flowing water, we are cavemen without the skills, right? So you need to start figuring out. If you don't know it, you better fucking have somebody in your group that does know how to do it. And then you need to figure out, okay, if things do go bad, I've got a certain amount of gas in my car, where can I meet up with people? And have your group ready. So you say, you know what, any event some shit goes down, where are we going to meet up at? Who's going to be doing what? You know, and you got to get past the egos. You got to say, okay, who is the best equipped to lead, that is going to be able to make tough decisions and also be fair, right? You know, who's got the strength of character, who can go and do the hard things that need to be done. Leadership sucks. You know, making decisions that affect somebody's life sucks. Making a decision where somebody's life is going to end because you as a leader or you as part of a group have decided that that person is not viable in the group setting because they're toxic. I mean, you have to be able to figure out the dynamics of different people and be able to, you know, survive and thrive. Because if this plan is executed like I fear it will be, I literally think at least 70% of the people on this planet, or at least in America to begin with, 70% of America will die. That's 7 out of 10 people. I got a family of 5. Statistically, that would mean, you know, a few of them are going to go. I don't want that. So, you know, I have to be the exception to the rule. I have to be able to figure things out and work with my community and basically not put a bullseye on myself when it happens. I think if you have loose groups and you keep yourselves cellular in nature, so you keep groups probably no larger than 25, but you guys are all kind of working with other groups in sets of 25, and you figure out communication so that you guys can be outside of each other's influence but still be able to meet in neutral locations and share and swap resources, things of that nature. And I think that's going to be the best bet, you know, figuring out the ways to build up a community. So, I mean, your community might be your fucking neighborhood. It might be the 25, 30 houses around your block, right? Figure out how to lock the block down, put cars to block in and out, and then being able to have people in different locations that are going to be able to communicate and let you know if people are coming. And then be able to train each other and get each other strong enough so that if another group comes and they start some shit, you handle it. You know what I mean? If they come and they come with peaceful intent, maybe you grow the groups. But you always keep that core 25. They keep a core 25, another keeps a core 25. And that way everybody knows everybody's name, everybody knows everybody's skill set, everybody knows, you know, what's what. So it's almost like family of 5, there's 5 of them, right? So, you know, 25. Keep that number in mind. That's going to be something that's manageable, something that's workable. Plus, you'll be able to tell what's going on. You start to get groups too big, people start talking shit, you know, you don't know what's what, and next thing you know, you got situations. If you keep small groups, but the groups are parts of larger groups, that's how you're going to make it work. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Let me know down below. Tell me, you know, add in your thoughts on it. And, you know, I might just be full of shit. You know what I mean? I might just be overthinking things and, you know, just kind of grasping for straws here. But I do know if it were me, and this is what my objectives that I was trying to accomplish, that'd be my game plan. Because that's the easier one. I could just pull the power, step back, and let everybody destroy each other. You know, you look at the TV shows like fucking Walking Dead, you know, it's like, you know, kill the undead, fear the living. You know what I mean? It's like we have all these hints in all the shows around us how things could possibly go down. Why is it so far-fetched to think? Right? Anyway, that's it for now. I'm not going to say if you like it, or none of that bullshit. Appreciate it if you guys subscribe. Share this information if you think it's relevant to people you care about, that you want to get them thinking about the serious things that could possibly happen. And share it. Share it far and wide with the folks you think are going to be receptive. And we'll go from there. Alright guys, be good to each other.